But women acted as if they'd been given a medal that entitled them to boss people around. It was as if, just because they'd got the label that said mother, everyone else got a tiny part of the label that said child. People, don't be offended. This video isn't about hating on parents, and breeders don't apply to everyone. It's just the people who, are Karens. who act as if they can boss people around and who are ill-equipped to be parents and who are narcissistic and shouldn't have had kids in the first place because they had them for the wrong reasons. So disclaimer. Hi there, I'm Roux. Welcome to my video. Today's video is going to be a little interesting, a little bit off script. I've made videos like this before, r/ChildFree. I've gotten comments where people are like, r/ChildFree is a really toxic subreddit. I disagree. Like, of course, in any sort of situation, you're always going to find that one party pooper. But in general, I don't think it's a negative sub. It's just a safe haven for people to rant about feeling pressured by society to make choices that they don't want, and society being upset if you don't make those choices. I don't think it's a toxic place. It's just a safe place to vent and to talk and to give people advice, and get advice. The real reason I want to talk about this topic today, though, is because of all the things that's been going on YouTube with the family vloggers. The Micah Stauffer thing, where her and her husband adopted a child from China and then rehomed him. Because apparently, even though they signed up specifically for special needs, once they actually got him and he wasn't cooperating to fit into their YouTuber lifestyle, they were like, let's rehome him. He's not working out for us anymore. He's not falling in line. And the 8 passengers lady who's treating her children like props, it's disturbing. She's forcing her child to sleep on the floor. She's forcing her children to go hungry. And she's just like, well, when you're 18, you're out of here. And she's forcing them to pay for everything, even though that they don't make any money off of the YouTube channel that she's making bank off of, by the way. Making bank off of exposing her children's lives on YouTube. It just baffles me that there can be that much hostility against people who are child-free, who choose to not have children, and then family vlogging is okay. I personally don't like family vloggers. It's one thing to have a channel where you talk about parenting techniques, what it's like to be a parent. Sure, do you boo your own thing, I don't care. But when you expose your children's lives on YouTube, they can't even consent. They're just involuntary participants of a reality show where everyone can watch every single thing they're doing and nothing is private. And it's just not okay. It just blows my mind that being child-free is somehow selfish, but these people, and there's so many channels, you guys, so many channels, because when I started going down the rabbit hole of watching the Micah Stauffer thing, because I wanted to see what happened to her son, that poor kid, and watching all of that stuff, that's how I came across the 8 passengers stuff. The YouTube algorithm started suggesting a lot of family channels to me, and it literally blew my mind how many ginormous family vlogger channels there are. I think we as a society have taken a really wrong turn somewhere, where society as a whole look down on people for choosing not to have children and call it selfish, whilst putting your children on the internet for views and money is wonderful. People love that shit. Like, that's socially acceptable. I make these videos with r/ChildFree, and I'm one of the only Reddit YouTubers who do, because a lot of people are afraid to touch it because they don't want to be associated with a toxic subreddit. I don't think it's toxic, but that's beside the point. But people are afraid to talk about it because so much of society is really vocal. I don't think it's everyone. I just think the really vocal negative people who dislike that women can choose not to have children, they're so loud. And they've been such a huge part of shaping society. I think it's just a really juvenile, immature response to watching people choose differently than you. The whole automatically assuming that if your friend likes blue and not pink, and pink is your favorite color, then That's just unacceptable. It's kind of the same thing, because you're basically saying that if you don't take the same life choices as the one you made, then the other person is disrespecting your life choices. Like, if people choose not to have children, they're offending everyone who can't have kids and who want kids and who have kids, and it's just so dumb. Some people just shouldn't have kids. I think that should be a more acceptable thing to talk about. There are so many people in the world who have children for the wrong reasons, who have kids as props, as an extension of themselves. They don't have kids because they want to be good parents. They have them because it's like a fun thing to have. They don't view them as their own people. Like the Stauffer family, like the 8 Passengers people, they don't view their kids as their own people, their own persons. I think it should be way more acceptable to talk about choosing not to have kids, and also reacting negatively to some people having kids because they're not gonna be good parents. Like, I think a lot of family vloggers, to be honest, have way more kids than they would have otherwise had just for views. These people have so many kids, like 7 or 8 kids. I feel like a lot of these people only have that many kids so that they can have free performers on their channel. That's just me being honest. I hope that people will take this, the thing that's happening now, the exposing of people having kids and adopting kids for all the wrong reasons, and maybe think to themselves, isn't it better though that people choose not to have kids if they know that they're not cut out for it, than religiously forcing everyone to do it? Because not everyone wants to, not everyone wants to for the right reasons, and not everyone's good at it. Yeah, so with that said, let's look at some r/child-free stuff. Let's normalize having choices. We live in a modern age where birth control is a thing. We all have choices. It's a choice, it's a choice, it's a choice. And either way, it's okay. Good Girl by Emily, who submitted this on my website. Thank you so much, Emily. I'm not sure which subreddit this would be posted in, but here's a story of mine anyway. I have Asperger's and anxiety, by the way. It's relevant to the story. Since I was little, my grandfather was oddly obsessed with getting me hooked up with someone so I would have kids. He would point out and make me look at any teenage boy that walked by in public, making like the, "Ooh, he's hot, isn't he?" Like he was trying to be a wingman. I was 13 and not interested in the slightest. When I wanted to donate my old toys and clothes or refuse to take any photos, I'm very camera shy, he would get angry and rant at the fact that I should have things for my kids and I'll regret it when I don't have any toys or pictures to show them when I was their age, etc., etc. I always insisted I was never going to have kids and have always been very vocal about how much I dislike them and don't want them near me. Whenever I tried, he would wave it off and insist I'll change my mind when I'm an adult. Fast forward to being 15 or 16, and I still hadn't dated anyone. My grandfather no longer pointed out boys. I believe he was under the assumption I was gay, although he never outright said. But he seemed to exaggerate my issues. He would get angry at me all the time because I wouldn't speak as much as most teenage girls were supposed to, and that I should have more friends and stop being so alone. Going as far as to getting into a fight with my mother where he called me mentally ill and handicapped because of my Asperger's, when I've never needed any sort of handicap help and was as smart as any other child. These fights happened after he tried to take over something I was doing and I refused. Such as me making the salad dressing I liked and him trying to butt in and do it for me, then getting angry and ranting that I wasn't doing it right. I didn't know what I was doing. I would regret refusing his help when I was merely making the salad dressing I've been making since I was 8. Him and my mother got into fights consistently about the way he treated me until finally my mother found him a new place to live. Not long after, I decided to start presenting as my identity as trans male after coming out to my mother. Cutting my hair, getting a new wardrobe, and trying to go by my preferred name. A bit after that, I met my now fiancé, who, surprise, he doesn't want children either, and we both agreed that kids were never going to be a part of our lives. My grandfather was forced to move back with us during the pandemic, where he's not as aggressive as he used to be, but there's still some issues. Like his refusal to accept my identity and calling me a young girl, or insisting that because I'm female, I would know a lot about beauty and makeup. As an adult, I was put into a situation where he was offering me a gift and wouldn't give it to me unless I said I was a good girl. When I refused, he looked at me like he was ashamed and disappointed, and my mother ended up agreeing that I should have just said it if I wanted the gift. He doesn't know about my fiancé because I'm in no hurry to get stuck in a loop of have kids again. That is incredibly sexist. It's really disturbing, really, how obsessed he is that, oh, you're a girl, so you need to do girl things and you need to behave a certain way. That's just all kinds of messed up. I'm glad that we're moving towards a society that isn't like this anymore, because the old ways are just sad and restrictive, and I don't understand how anyone could be happy living like that. I know exactly how you feel though, because my maternal grandmother, she would always be like this. She would always be like, isn't that boy cute? Oh, look at that boy. And I was really shy too. And she didn't understand me because she's an extrovert, and she didn't understand that I didn't want to talk about boys with my grandmother, and I was an awkward teenager and it was just not happening. And she genuinely stopped because she suddenly got it in her head that because I didn't want to talk to her about boys, I must like girls, which wouldn't be a problem, but apparently to her it would be. So she stopped asking me. I think a lot of people, especially narcissistic people, have children so that they can use them as trophies or an extension of themselves. And when those puppets, aka the real people, when they don't act like puppets anymore and they don't want to go along with it, they get really angry. And they act as if they have some sort of right to tell people how to be and what to do. Yeah, those people shouldn't have kids, but no one bats an eye when they do. So, that's interesting. Next! Get off my lawn! Am I the asshole for telling my neighbors to get a bigger yard if they want their kids to have somewhere to play? I'm 26, female, and living with my husband, also 26. We've been living in our current starter house for a little over a year at this point. The neighbors across the street have 4 kids under 10 years. For reference, my neighbor's front yard is taken up mostly by a rather large driveway on a steep incline. The lot their house is on is also much narrower than the one my husband and I's house is on. My house also has a small pool that came with the house in the backyard. A couple of weeks ago, my husband and I went hiking over the weekend. When we got home Sunday, I saw the neighbors' kids playing in my yard. They were riding their bikes in the driveway and seemed like they'd been playing in the yard since some toys were there. I told them to leave and brought the toys in the yard to my neighbor and asked her to make sure the kids didn't play in my yard again. She apologized and said sorry. She had just been happy for them to get out of the house while she cleaned. I thought, no problem, end of story. It's not going to be the end of story though, is it? No. Well, last week when I was in my garden, my neighbor, kid's mom, came and said hi. She asked if it would be okay if the kids could use my pool since it doesn't seem like it gets used much anyways. She said she'd supervise, but the kids have been waiting to go swimming, but they can't because of the coronavirus restrictions. I told her I wasn't comfortable with that, even if my husband and I were home at the time. She seemed to understand and let it go. I don't use Facebook much, but my neighborhood has a Facebook group. 2 days ago, I checked it for the first time in a while and saw a post from my neighbor from last week. It basically said, I'm really disappointed in the disrespect for parents. It takes a village to raise kids, and we should support each other in this troubling time. Children need places to play and grow. When I first moved here, I hoped this would be a neighborhood for young growing families. I'm just overall disappointed in how some members of this community aren't keen on being friendly to children. That's paraphrased, but you get the gist. She didn't name any names, but I connected a few dots. And against my better judgment, commented. It's about to get juicy over here. Maybe you should have gotten a house with a bigger yard if your kids want to play. A few hours after my comment, I got a text from said neighbor saying she wasn't referring to me and she was very hurt that I'd say something so rude on a public forum. I told her to not bother me anymore. I've since been removed from the Facebook group, by the way. My husband thinks my neighbor is an asshole, but he also thinks I shouldn't have engaged with her because it just makes me look bad and it'll make living here a pain. Am I the asshole? No. People get so offended when you point out that they have made terrible choices. Like, if they wanted their children to have somewhere to play, they could take them to a park. They could have gotten a house with a bigger yard. They don't like having those things pointed out to them. Like, they want everyone to just be a village. Bitch, they only want the village when it suits them. They don't want to be the village when it's the other way around. They only want it so they can say, oh, it takes a village to raise a kid. Yeah, but you have to let people choose to be part of the village, honey. You can't just force people to be part of the village. Oh my. So entitled. It's insane. And this is the difference between parents and entitled fuckwits. This is an entitled fuckwit. A breeder, per se. Someone who's entitled and who thinks that the world revolves around their children. It doesn't. And it makes them very angry when someone points that out. Edit, I didn't expect this many replies over just a couple of hours. Just a few things though. The kids weren't playing in my backyard, it was the front. They're the youngest kids on my street, the rest are older kids. And the oldest of the bunch might be older than 10. I'm bad at guessing ages. The youngest is probably 5 or 6. My neighbor and I have been civil in the past, but I know almost nothing about her. We're not total strangers, but certainly not friends. The way my neighborhood is built, the houses across the street from me are more elevated and have a steep incline, which takes up a lot of the front yard space. My side of the street is more even-grounded. I use the pool about once a week, and it's well maintained. You can see part of it through my side yard gate, above-ground pool. Just because someone has a pool doesn't make it community property. Like, I remember the craze of the trampolines. It was a thing when I was a kid. And I can't even imagine how annoying we must have been walking around, knocking on people's doors, asking to, jump on their trampolines. I wish some of the adults would have told us that is not appropriate. Just because someone has something doesn't mean they have to share with you. That is not the you need to learn to share lesson you want to be teaching your kids. You should also teach them to respect other people's things and respect being told no. Oh my god. Next! Life choices. Your husband's refusal to watch your children doesn't dictate my travel plans. I have a friend, Sarah, who has 2 kids, 10 and 12. Both kids have severe anxiety issues, are on meds, and apparently can't be left alone at all. I got conned once into a beach day with them, and by the end of it, I had a massive migraine behind my eyes. I assumed her and I would lay on the beach while the kids swam the whole time. Nope, they were with us the entire day, and neither one shuts up. It was mentally draining, and that was the first and last time I ever spent time around them. I have known Sarah for about 4 years. If her and I spend time together alone, it's usually for a midday cocktail while the kids were in school, or sometimes during evening events. We do have a ton of fun when we're together, and thankfully she doesn't talk about her kids at all in those scenarios. She's been aware from the start I don't care for kids and has since admitted that going that day was a mistake. With the quarantine, however, her home life took a turn for the worse. She would text me almost every day over the course of 2.5 months and complain mostly about her kids and her husband, who I find to be a Neanderthal. She told me she is jealous of my lifestyle and I'm lucky I don't have kids. She's also had a few affairs on her husband, pre-quarantine obviously, as part of an escape to deal with her situation. I straight up asked her why she married him and had kids, and she said, "It's something I thought you were just supposed to do." I told her, no, those were life choices. My not having kids had nothing to do with luck. I've known that I don't want any my entire life. Then I told her that maybe it was time to start making some new choices if she was that unhappy. Her reasoning to stay is because of the money he makes and because of the kids. She doesn't want my advice though. She just wanted someone to listen to her bitch. After my changing the subject several times, she got the hint I didn't want to beat that person. Earlier this week, I came across these vacation condos that are a few hours drive away, and I thought it would be fun to have a girls' night. Quarantine is starting to loosen up, but each condo has their own little beach and fire pit, so it'll still be possible to avoid people. I thought we could drive up, bring some groceries and booze, have a nice dinner and drink till we pass out. And the bed is right there, no driving. Get up the next morning, go have breakfast and go home. Easy peasy. I texted Sarah to see if she wanted to go. Come to find she was dying to go, but has no one to watch her children. Apparently, all of those evening events, she was having her 72-year-old mother watch them. And because of COVID, the mom is not comfortable watching the children because she's at risk. I think it's because those kids are messed up and clingy AF, but that's another story. But whatever, that's her prerogative. So I asked, wait, won't your husband be home? He refuses to watch the kids. Ever. I was pretty dumbfounded. But that was that. If he can't watch the kids and bringing them is not an option, I guess it's a done deal. I didn't bother pursuing it and stopped texting her after that. I did, however, text another friend who was all on board. Send me the dates you want to go, she says. Last night, I get a text from Sarah. What's going on with the condo getaway? I was like, well, I made plans with X since you couldn't get anyone for the kids. Just then, all hell broke loose. Here are some highlights. WTF? You know I need to get out of this house and away from him. Why can't I just bring the kids? It's just for one day. There's enough beds. Why do you hate my kids so much? I'm going stir crazy over here. It's been 3 months since I've seen you. How the fuck can you call yourself a friend and just ditch me? I did not respond. She tried calling me, but I didn't answer. I instead went into my kitchen, poured myself some wine, and sat out on my back deck. I'm pretty sure it's over. Update, she contacted me this morning and apparently talked to her husband. He agreed to watch the kids from 5 p.m. on the date originally selected until 10 a.m. the next day. What would that mean? We wouldn't get there until 8 at night and would have to get up at 6 a.m. in order to get back by 10. I had to laugh because I was having a coffee out of my oatmeal mug during this. That's ironically hilarious. That's the thing too. I think if you have a society that tells people that's just the thing you do, people will make stupid choices like this. Like, oh, I'm this and this old, I really need to settle down, and even though I don't like my husband, I'm just gonna do it. You know, he's not bad, but you know, I don't like him that much. But yeah, I need to settle down, I'm getting old, so that's what you do. And then you end up miserable like this lady. I think if we had a society that was more like, yeah, it's a choice, you should just choose what's best for you, it's all good no matter what your choice is, just be a good parent if you choose to, and if you don't want to be a parent, that's a-okay too, then you wouldn't have situations where people do this to themselves, and who are toxic AF, who's cheating on their husband, and who lose their minds because they can't be around them. And I just don't understand, like, why would you have kids if you're just miserable all the time by being around your husband and your kids? Like, oh my god. Next! The last story is pretty emotional. It happened a long time ago, but I thought of it when I saw the whole family vloggers thing, and I remember that there was one story that I never read in any of my videos because I just forgot. It's a good story, but I forgot. And it's about that woman who beat her kid for messing with her makeup palette. The kid is like a toddler, and she straight up beat her kid for messing with her makeup palette. And she's talking about the child like it's like this evil person who's like, she's just so good at getting to my makeup. It's like, no, you're just bad at hiding it. If you have a toddler, you can't be upset if they do that. Like, I feel like it's just yet another example of someone who shouldn't have had kids and who think that just because they have a kid, they're the greatest parent ever. I think there's a lot more people who choose to be child-free who would be better parents because they actually do it because they know that they wouldn't be able to handle stuff like that. And then there's people like this girl who just beat her kid because she has unrealistic expectations of a toddler. Like, if you don't understand that toddlers will mess up shit they get into and you need to like hide that shit like it's the Fort Knox hardcore unless you want to have accidents like that. Like, you can't... It's infuriating. So disgusted over the breeder that beat her child over a makeup palette. By Rapunzel Looking Ass. This smaller YouTuber, Michelle Grace, uploaded a video talking about how she legit fucking beat her 2-year-old after she accidentally destroyed her JS eyeshadow. 2-year-old. Oh my god, the kid is younger than I remember too. Not that it's okay to beat your child if it's older either, but like, it just makes it so much worse. The kid is 2, like, they're like fresh out of the womb, man. Like, they don't understand that they can't get into the makeup palette. They don't have the hand-eye coordination to be gentle with a makeup palette. Like, oh my god. Putting aside the fact that most of us wouldn't have kids because they're so destructive, can we just talk about how awful this is? This is breeder mentality at its peak. She didn't properly look after her child and hide her makeup, and then punishes a 2-year-old for being a 2-year-old. And on top of that, she was ranting about it online as if she was justified in her actions. The video itself is so heart-wrenching. The toddler is in the background crying out in pain and betrayal while the mom is coldly talking about how her kid is so bad and conniving, as if she's talking about a shitty thing a boyfriend did or something. So in summation, fuck breeders. Not parents, breeders. I've seen breeders and breeder apologists trying to defend her actions. No. Fuck you guys. Even we here on the ChildFree forum know this is wrong. Amen. That's the thing. Like, it's not like the posts that might seem hostile on r/ChildFree, they're not actually towards all parents. Parents are people. It's a verb. It's a thing you do. It's not just a title you get. Parenting is a verb, you know, to quote Dr. Phil and shit. And the people who actually parent and who did it for the right reasons, had kids for the right reasons, and who treat their children with respect and who are raising future wonderful people of society, those aren't the problem. Those are not the people that people are upset with in the posts on r/ChildFree. The people that people are upset with on r/ChildFree are the people who just have kids without really thinking about how they're going to be a good parent, how they're going to be a good educator of another human being, and how they're going to look after the kid, and how, you know, they did it for all the wrong reasons and they're shit at it, and they just think that they're really good at it because, I don't know, they just assume. Not everyone should be parents. It's just, it needs to be more of a thing. You should have choices, and I commend the people who say to themselves, you know what? If I had a kid, I know within myself that I would have a short fuse. There's people on r/ChildFree who talks about that say that they know within themselves they don't have the patience to deal with child behavior, and therefore they choose not to have kids. That is commendable. That is good. What's not good is having a kid and then beating them because the kid acted like a kid, and your sorry ass can't cope with it because you're a shitty person. Yeah, this video got interesting, didn't it? Got really fired up. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you did, and if you didn't, that's okay. Your opinion about all of this, do comment below. I hope you come back for more every Friday. Soon every Wednesday too. I'm working on my true crime series. It's fun. I'm working on it. It's a lot of fun making it, so I hope you'll have a lot of fun watching it too. So soon every Wednesday as well. Fridays and Wednesdays. Fridays, Reddit readings. Wednesdays, true crime. Thank you so much to my wonderful patrons, Capra, Magdalena Wuska, Cami, and Ellie. Stay awesome, people. See you next time.